AgCenter also maintains a full-service oat breeding program. We made about 240 oat crosses this spring. Oats are a little more interesting, challenging than wheat. One thing about oats is we can harvest oats in May in Baton Rouge or in Winnsboro and send them out to Aberdeen, Idaho in the desert, 3 hours south of Yellowstone, and get a full generation in the summer, go out about Labor Day and harvest, take notes, harvest, go play in the mountains for 3 days, come back and thrash them, and then ship the seed. And so we can get 6 generations of oats in 3 years with no problem. And that certainly speeds up the process. The other aspect about oats is that they're used for lots of different purposes. There are horse oats that are high grain yield, low forage, disease resistant. Most of our oats are dual purpose. They're bred to have high forage yield, but also good grain yield. There are cover crop oats. We also coordinate the USDA International Oat Nursery and send oat breeding material to 30 programs around the world. So I make a lot of crosses with oats that will never be grown in Louisiana. Spring oats or long winter oats or other things. And so oats are very interesting. If any of you are deer hunters and you plant plant oats as food plots, you're probably planting an LSU oat.
By the way, they just came out with an oat milk, Kobani did.
Yes.
National advertising, and so it doesn't taste too bad.
If you don't like regular milk, I guess it's okay. But.
That's right.
So there's only 25 entries in this trial. The University of Florida and LSU have basically one oat breeding program. Every oat variety that we release is a Florida co-release, and we share royalties and vice versa, because we basically share every phase of the breeding program and steal each other's lines all the time. So we co-release everything. This is a Florida experimental, very pretty looking little line. This is a Florida new release. It's a early oat, well adapted to silage, good crown rust resistance. We don't really have any rust out here this year. Last year this field was orange. We were just hammered by crown rust. A Florida breeding line, a Texas A&M breeding line. The Texas guys were here yesterday. They're also part of Sungrains, and it's Texas, North Carolina State, Florida, and LSU that do all of the oat breeding in the South. A Texas experimental, an LA line that we have a big increase of that I think looks very good, LA 14100. A Texas experimental looks good. A Louisiana experimental. This is one, it's kind of ragged. This seed came from Texas, but it's an LSU line that we just released last summer. Not this ragged looking, but we harvested 30 pounds of a breeder seed increase last May, bagged it up, shipped it to Montana, and they grew an acre increase of it over the summer. And now in Texas, there's about 400 acres growing out of that increase. It was released to a company called Trical that does a lot of forage work. This one is Sweet Caroline, FL 0720, which is a University of Florida LSU release. It's got good disease resistance, good yield, good forage. It's well suited for the Florida dairy cattle silage industry, and it is produced by Angelina in Louisiana and marketed. So Angelina and Plantation Seed, LA 9916, sold by Reagan and Massey out of Ponchatoula as Ram Oat. It's about it was a 99 cross. It's probably a 10-year-old release. Widely grown in the Southeast for silage, for food plots, and as a dual purpose oat. It is somewhat susceptible now to the new crown rust races that aren't here, but in Baton Rouge it's getting hammered pretty good. Bob, There's a lot of loose smut in here. So this is loose smut, similar to corn smut, Ustalago nuda. Easily controlled with fungicides, but not many oats or have seed fungicides put on them. Bob is probably a 1974 or so University of Arkansas release. It may or may not have looked like this in 1974 because it's the most widely brown bagged oat there is, and lots of oats that are protected varieties are sold as Bob. So it's an okay oat. It's got a pretty seed, a nice bright yellow seed. TAM 412, Texas A&M 412 is a really nice little oat. One of Texas A&M's new releases. A North Carolina line, nice looking oat. I think this one was just released, that's 3447. There is no crown rust in North Carolina. And so Paul Murphy's breeding program is kind of a world unto itself because his varieties here just get hammered, and a lot of our varieties in North Carolina will freeze. All right, if there's crown rust out here, here it is. It's coming. It's coming. I don't know if it has time to do much damage, but that's crown rust. This is Brooks, an old North Carolina line that we grow every year and use as a crown rust spreader. A Florida experimental. Horizon 306, Jimmy. This is an LSU AgCenter release. It's probably the second most widely grown oat across the Southeast. Really nice, good high forage variety, good grain, good big plump seed. Would y'all run Jimmy back this way?
Oh, where's Blake?
Horizon 306, as Dr. Harrison mentioned, it's an LSU variety. It does serve well as a dual-purpose oat, but it is a very good yielder when it comes to grain. So if somebody's looking for a grain option, this is the one we recommend. Good disease package as well. This variety of oats does well for us every year.
It's a very, very pretty little oat. This is one I've been trying to release for 3 years, and it's just not going to happen. Super forage producer. It's just unbelievable mass of leaves. But it's too susceptible to crown rust. We're just not going to do it. It's got a lot of babies out here, though. It's been in a lot of crosses. North Carolina 3578, experimental. Horizon 270, Jimmy. Blake, somebody. Another LSU release.
Horizon 270, also another good grain yielder that we have. Serves well on dual purpose forage.
It's kind of what I'd call a horse oat. It's got a really plump yield. It's early, nice seed. North Carolina experimental. North Carolina experimental. Here's another LSU experimental that I've got a pretty big increase of. That's 14100-43-1. Good resistance to the new crown rust. Leafy, high grain yield. Probably going to be a variety. And then Texas, and that's it. I won't walk you through the rest.